Cosplay Stitch and Seam. I'm Pannon.
I'm V-Fire.
And I'm David.
Yay! Hooray!
We all here.
Welcome to the show. We are in the show.
We are here, and the show is now. Welcome to it. You're welcome.
Yes.
We're really good at this.
Good. So good. So good. As always, if you listeners at home would like to reach out to us, you can do that many ways. The first is email. You can do that at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com or
you can go to the website and fill out the Google form at cosplaystitchandseam.com or
go to the Facebook page and send us your message there. And while you're there, join our fantastic community. Join our Work in Progress Wednesdays. Be part of the awesome people that just continue to build each other up and support each other through all of your trials, tribulations, fun times, happy stories, horror stories, and anything in between. And while you're on the internet, if you want to help out the show, we have so many different ways that you can do that. Join the super secret exclusive club of sharing the podcast with a friend. We don't pay to advertise, so word of mouth is the only way we get around. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, on Audible, on Podchaser, wherever they let you, and let us know where you left those reviews so we can give you a shout out on the show. And we also have a Patreon. What? For $3 a month, we give you a shout out on the show, and for $5 a month, you can join the Cosplay Chronicle. Coming into this with a lot of energy, apparently. I'm so sorry.
No, you're so good. I'm having a wonderful time.
Oh, good.
Fantastic.
All right. We will be streaming our next game for Cosplay Chronicles September 12th. V-Fire is going to NDK, and we're all a little jealous, but also at the same time, I am very happy to be staying home for a little while.
Yeah.
It's been a busy week for me. So make sure if you want to join us, make sure you join the $5 tier and you can join our Cosplay Chronicles. Sometimes you even can change how the game works.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. And when's our next one again?
September 12th at noon,
12th.
MST.
Yay! I'm so excited for it.
Yes. I was going to say, speaking of your secret club, David, it's like
Yes.
the opposite of Fight Club, where the first rule is you tell everybody.
You tell everybody.
Fight Club.
You tell everybody. The second rule of the super secret club is you continue to tell everybody. You alienate people because you keep telling them about the podcast.
So speaking of things you can tell everybody about,
Yes.
V-Fire, do you want to tell our listeners about the newest project we've got going?
Oh my gosh, tell me about your favorite photographers and share their photos. Come on, guys, let's do it. Our latest community project is showcasing our favorite photographers with your favorite photos that they have taken, along with cosplayer and photographer credit. As well as if you've got a behind the scenes of your photographer doing amazing photographer yoga, let's have those photos. Or just really fun behind the scenes, like they got this shot and they had to do this to get it. Like, I love all of those.
I'm so excited to see some of those.
Oh my gosh,
Yay.
yes. So get those in by September 30th.
Heck yeah. Also, as always, if you want to support another cosplayer building a small business, you can go to foxbeautycosmetics.com. That's FOXX beautycosmetics.com. Use the promo code Stitch and Seam to receive 10% off your purchase of all vegan, not tested on animal products.
Hooray!
Hooray!
I was like, nice.
Yes. So, V-Fire, you get to be the one running the show this episode. I am very excited to talk about this.
I've been so excited about this, like, all forever.
All forever. I feel like it's one of your key tenets is all kinds of fun materials when you're building.
Yes. So I'm titling this episode "Non-Traditional Materials for Cosplay," but they're actually like more traditional than you think. But yeah, so what are like just like the weirdest items and things that you've used in a cosplay where you're like, that's not what that's for? You know, like you walk into a hardware store and you're like putting everything in your cart, and as you're checking out, they're like, oh, are you working on a, sprinkler system? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
It's totally, no, I'm actually making a weird prop. It's actually a lot more normal than you think. A lot of movies and stuff will use that. But first, let's talk about what are non-traditional materials. Panic,
Yeah.
David. Have you guys used non-traditional materials?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
A couple of times. Again, with the noviceness of my skill, I would say that I'm probably more along the lines of like, hey, I saw this person use this on a tutorial. I will use the exact same material. I have not reached out to that point oftentimes where it's like, I will try something that I'm not too familiar with. I'm very still hesitant to explore new and unknown territories.
That's fair. Like,
That's all right.
I think when I was like first learning how to cosplay and it wasn't something you could like find at the sewing store or like the hardware store necessarily, my favorite place to go was thrift stores. And it still kind of is because I just like thrift shopping. I am that Macklemore human. But like I love going to thrift stores and there's just, you never know what you're going to find there. Like, and it forces you to kind of think out of the box because you'll pick up something and be like, this kind of reminds me of blank. How could I make it into blank?
The cheapest belt buckles you can ever get.
when that's true, I would buy up like purses for like $1 and then just harvest like 8 buckles off of them because it's so much cheaper.
I have a bin that's just buckles that I've gotten from the thrift store.
So I cosplayed like Attack on Titan back in the day, and I made I made my 3D maneuver gear, and I used like Gucci buckles from all these, like I found these old Gucci bags because I had a ton of buckles and I just had like these very stylish buckles on my costume.
Beautiful.
So
Absolutely
perfect.
beautiful.
It was so fun. I think one of my favorites was like when I first started getting into armor, I would go to the thrift store and look at like football and soccer and different like sports protective gear and shoulder pads and things like that. When I did Fierce Deity Link, I made his armor from a piece of football armor that I like moved the padding all over the place and like repositioned the plastic pieces. And then I found a plastic back brace and I like fused that, like bolted them together so they were one big piece.
I love that.
Yeah. And it had like a plastic base to build off of. So I knew it was sturdy. And then I just went to town with foam over a lot of it.
Nice.
Also, like, I'm playing it cool right now, but my brain's like, that Fierce Deity cosplay.
Oh, yeah. That was like one of the first contests I judged you in was when I was wearing that.
Yup, you were wearing that, and that's when you told me the thing that changed my whole cosplay career.
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
You and Garnet just changed my whole life.
But I have really liked thrift stores because there's so many really unconventional materials, like especially in like the sporting goods. You can look in the toy section. If you're doing like sewn costumes, there's a ton of things you can get to like make a base pattern off of, do something found and altered. Like when I was still in school and trying to cosplay, like I had a very, very limited budget. So the thrift store, finding something that was like close enough to a cosplay I wanted to do, and then learning how to alter it from that was like some of the first tailoring that I learned. So not only is it like, I don't know, it's really cool to see what people will make things out of, but it's also really good for learning. And what does both what does and what doesn't work. I also love it for, believe it or not, shoes. Because I hate having to buy brand new shoes for a cosplay. Because
like, I'm going to tear this apart.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tear it apart, but I'm going to wear it like once or twice or 3 times. You know, I'm not going to wear it that often, or maybe a few times a year, but not like everyday shoes. So I don't want to buy like everyday shoe price. I'll get something cheap at the thrift store and build off of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a fan of thrift stores.
My favorite place to go for weird materials and whatnot is the hardware store.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know, right? What? Oh my gosh. And I'll go in there and be like, all right, I need to go get a thing for my tools. And I'll be like, okay, tools. Oh, that would work for this. It's like, I like literally, like, if I am like, okay, I'm on a tight budget right now. When I go into the store, I am only allowed to go to the aisle where I need stuff and then leave. Because if you let me start wandering around, my imagination just goes wild. Anything and everything in there is a potential cosplay piece.
True. I mean, they have like all kinds of stuff. Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
I've used the thick plastic zip ties, the ones that are like, like 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch, to use as like corset bones. If I don't use it for like a corset for shaping, but I use it a lot in like when I'm doing corseting, like on the inside of clothing when it's built into the lining, because it helps fit to my body a lot better.
And it's not right up against your skin, so you don't have to worry about it warping.
Exactly, yeah. And so yeah, I really like that, and you can get a bag of them for like $1. So
I know, it's like that cheap.
Yes. I like cheap.
Me too. Sergeant Calhoun, all the like plugs and stuff on her outfit. Chris and I were actually going to the store. We were trying to find some furniture sliders to move our couch around a lot easier in our apartment, because like we were all just always rearranging stuff. And moving heavy furniture sucks. Furniture sliders are amazing. But also they make great plugs for sci-fi outfits. I started staring at them. I was like, Chris, we're buying an extra set. And he's like, for what? And I'm like, me. He's like, what do you need it for? And I'm like, cosplay.
Beautiful.
Oh, I was like, look, this is perfect shape. Like, all I have to do is like stick a little bit of foam on it and boom, I've got a neat old plug. And then like we're in the PVC section, and there were these 2 large things on the back of Calhoun's armor that have like these really cool details on them. And I was like, oh my gosh, these 2 PVC pipey thingies, I don't know what they're actually for. They're now cosplay pieces. There's just so many things that you'll run into there where you're like, I could use that if I just repaint that. That now looks like X, Y, and Z. Whether you're like adding it onto a costume or using it for a prop. But yeah, on that note, like movies do this all the time. I mean, those who are like big movie prop buffs, you guys probably have all heard these stories. But stuff like,
I have so many examples. I'm going to jump in here. I'm so sorry, Mercedes. I'm going to jump in.
Go.
So if you watch anything with Tested with Adam Savage, he constantly tells you all these things.
Oh my gosh.
One of my favorite recent discoveries is that in Aliens, the sequel to Alien, they have these like shoulder lamps, and it was like a taken apart intercom system that they unscrewed and screwed in the lamp system and whatnot, and they were like halogen bulbs, so they burned like super hot if you touched them with your face because they were right next to you. The carbonite slab that we see in the original Star Wars trilogy, there is like this little dial thing, and what that is that's part of the dashboard of a very specific type of car that they've ripped out, and then they flipped inside out. So that way it looked like something completely different, and you wouldn't like just see it for what it was. Yeah, there's so many of them out there.
On Fifth Element, when sorry, hang on, let me remember his name.
Corbin Dallas?
Corbin Dallas? Zorg. When he goes and deactivates his bomb, and the Mangalore dudes like activate their own to destroy the Flotsam Paradise. So like, if you look closely at what the Mangalore is holding, his little bomb detonator is literally like the lock that you put on your locker in high school.
What?
With a little LED. The actual like lock part of it's been removed, and they just stuck an LED in it.
Genius. Absolutely genius.
Amazing.
I bet you anything that like the original TARDIS before the reboot with Christopher Eccleston, I'm sure you could look at that that panel and you could see different tchotchkes and whatnot, like just glued into it and drilled and
Quark in DS9, his little Ferengi pistol, It's part of a Robotech little robot trooper. It's a toy.
Huh.
It's
Oh,
like
that's awesome.
part of the toy. They just took it apart and like, were like, hey, that's cool, and then they painted it.
Nice.
That's actually like, it's given me a like inspiration to go into the toy section and be like, hey, what can I use?
Oh man,
So,
yeah.
This is a completely like somewhat relevant anecdote, but it's also like not. So when I was growing up as a like very, very young child, my mother was like very anti-gun toys in the house. So no pop guns or anything gun shaped at all. But there was a cartoon that never really made it to air, and it was called Dino Riders.
That sounds
And
amazing.
they had these like weird guns that were just kind of like these long flat things that shot out flat lasers. If you've seen Dino Riders, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the Play-Doh masher that you like, it has that like big handle and you just push it down and it extrudes the Play-Doh from the other side. If you take out the handle of that, it looks exactly like the guns in Dino Riders. And as me as a 4-year-old, I remember picking that up and I named it Sarah. I don't know why Sarah. I didn't know any Sarahs, but I named my gun Sarah. And
amazing.
my mother was so mad because I was using it as a gun, like in play fighting and whatnot. And my mom was like, "What? Who gave him a gun? Why did he? This was against the rules." Until one day she threw it away. And as a present, my parents actually bought me like a nostalgia gift of that same Play-Doh masher set with the same plunger and everything. So now I have Sarah all over again.
Aww.
Sarah 2.0.
Oh, that's so cool.
Cute.
I love that story.
I
you.
absolutely love that.
One of my favorite things, like recently, with I guess I don't want to say like the fad, but with how like D&D has come back into being or come into being kind of like a mainstream popular thing. The number of like fantasy, just fun out there costumes and original characters and things. Like I remember when I first wanted to do a costume of Taco from the Adventure Zone, and
From TV,
you know. So I had so many like saved up trims and weird fabric that I was just like, this is really cool looking. And I was just like, I'm going to take as much stuff as I can and just put it all into one costume.
Nice.
So for that, it was like, I just kind of like a magpie collect sparkly, weird, unconventional materials. And I had a costume I got to use it for. So that was really fun.
That is super cool. I know like one piece that I've planned out is those paper brads, those little brass brads that you like push through and you fold backwards. I'm going to use those as rivets and also semi hinge points, because then I don't have to like cut through something like and break a lot of the piece, and I don't have to worry about the googly eyes sound effect, because I know a lot of people like to use googly eyes for their studs. But I thought brads, one, they're already metallic, and two, they're double purposing. They hold things together.
True. When DJ and I made Howl's Moving Castle, that's what we used to both hold it together and to act as rivets, because they actually held it together because it was made of cardboard.
Heck
That's amazing.
And yeah,
Perfection.
I love those paper rivets. They are so cool.
Double use.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, it's so nice just like to let your imagination run wild of like, if I take this, change the color, modify it, it's now a whole new fantastical thing, from like fantasy stuff to sci-fi.
Oh my gosh. And at the hardware store, I forgot to mention this while you were on it, but like,
oh no, you're good.
One of my favorite things is like cheap things that do stuff. And it's both hardware and like the dollar store. So if it lights up, if it spins, if it makes a sound, I am like so excited to be like, how can I hide this on the costume? So when I do this, it does that.
The V for Vendetta, the little signal jammer.
Oh yeah.
It's a book light.
Oh heck yeah. Huh.
So it's like double purpose. It has that cool like motion, how it opens up and everything. And all I did is I just replaced the light in it so it looked more, like it was signal jammy. But like, it's such a simple but amazing thing to do. I love finding like electronics that work already and just finding a way to just kind of like pull it out of whatever it's already in and put it into something else.
Yes. Yes.
Even
hard
better
agree.
if I don't have to move it very far from what it's already in.
So that brings me to one of my questions that just popped into my head of like,
Yeah.
let's say that you've got like, I don't know, tubes or whatever that were originally part of like your dishwasher or something, and you've attached it to your armor or something like that. Like, what's the thought process that you use when it's like, okay, this is going to be somewhat moving, but this thing that I'm attaching it to or with doesn't move at all? Like, what's the mentality there? Does that question make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
Like how you're putting like your unconventional material that is probably like a stiff plastic or metal or otherwise like non-bending thing onto something like fabric.
Yeah, like Sokka. He's a non-bender.
I'm
so sorry.
Like, honestly, it really depends because I have learned this the hard way. I did, probably no one remembers this show but me, but there was an old Shonen Jump series called Hoshin Engi or Soul Hunters. And the author, mangaka, is known for like really weird character designs. And this guy used like lightsabers, and he had this jacket that was covered with like half globe, like half sphere shapes, like little bubble things all over his vest. And I was like, okay, how am I going to do that? And so I got a whole bunch of styrofoam balls and I cut them in half and glued them on to the jacket. But I used hot glue, so they just kind of like fell off throughout the day because it was on like a leathery material, so it wasn't porous, it didn't adhere well. But yeah, I learned a lot about like what materials will stick to what materials.
Yeah.
There's definitely something to keep in mind as you're building, because that's always a thing, is like, how do you affix, like, I would think of it like armor, like, can you put loops on it that would like slip a D-ring through? Can you rivet it, like use actual rivets or screws or things to put it through another piece of the costume? If it's like, light enough, can you use whatever adhesive to stick it on?
Put tubing on like a fabric thing to make it look like, I don't know, you're a cyborg and you're like coming, like the tubes like go through your outfit, but you're like a cyborg trying to like look halfway decent, so you don't want to like have ripped clothing. You could even create a harness underneath that you could connect the tubing to, and then have like a shirt that would go over that. So you would put the harness on, slide the shirt over the top of it with holes in it where the tubing would attach, and then just attach the tubing that way. Yeah, that way you've got the secure structure that you need, but it looks different.
Yeah. My favorite, like, stick this to that glue, I think, is Barge Cement.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, like, the contact cement is great, especially for, like, foams and stuff. But if you're looking to stick, like, something heavier to something else, it works really well. That's what we used, like, with a lot of the, like, industrial mascots. Because you could stick on the bottom of a shoe onto a fabric. You could stick on like fur. You could stick on plastic. You could stick on like anything you want.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps. That does help quite a lot.
Definitely. Yeah. And there's also, I think we talked about it on our adhesives episode, but the This to That website is one of my favorites.
Yes.
Amazing.
So helpful. I wish I had known about it like a decade ago.
So moving along with our topics and whatnot, don't feel like when you're creating cosplays that you have to be restricted to one type of like a material, or because like I know like right now, and this is amazing, we've got like the cosplay fabrics out there and cosplay foam that you can go and purchase. Those are amazing. I love having that as a resource. But don't feel like that's the only way you can do things. If you look at movies, a prop or even various outfits, they'll have more than one version of it. And it's all built out of different materials based on the need of it. So what is the need in your costume? What want this to do? Do you need it to flow a certain way? The dress from Cinderella, there's like three or four different versions of it, depending on like what movement they needed it to do versus like how the weight of it needed to look in different scenes.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So when people are like, oh, you have to do it this way, it's like, nah, it depends on what you want it to do. Same thing with swords. A big thing with swords in movies is for the close-up shots where they need to really show what the weight of the sword is like and make it more natural for the actor to be holding it that way. It'll be made out of, semi-realistic materials to give it that weight so that the actor doesn't have to sit there and pretend it's a heavy sword. Where, meanwhile, in fight scenes, it'll actually be made out of something like a rubber or something. So it's light, they can do quick movements, and they don't have to worry about breaking their fake sword. Because it's just, it's movie magic. But yeah, you'll notice that like close-ups will have more high detail, where farther back shots, it might be a different prop so that they can move around quicker. Same thing with armor. Wonder Woman, her like bodice piece, there's a leather version, there's a foam version, there's a what is the word I'm looking for? It's like plastic. Yeah, it's like different like plastic, not resin, silicone.
Okay.
Like a sort of like a silicone version. And it all depends on like what it was needed for in the film. Like what was she doing? And like high detail versus low detail versus is the stunt double wearing the outfit? Because they're going to need different kinds of movement than, somebody who doesn't do stunts. So don't feel like you have to be like restricted to one thing. And also like movie posters, don't feel like you have to be restricted to what's on those too, because a lot of those are edited as well.
Oh yeah.
To add in more details and stuff.
All of them are edited.
Yes, all of them are edited. I should say that. All of them.
Literally.
With you guys, we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but like, what's been your favorite material to use that's been like a weird, non-traditional material?
Oh gosh, I need to.
I
think
like
about
golf
that.
clubs.
Oh,
They are fantastic for like for swords even. Like they make a great center of the sword. They are very rigid, they are very durable. If you cut off the head of the club, like it has kind of a taper, so that might be something that like may put you off from it. But I've used golf clubs a couple of times now, and man, they're lightweight. They're fantastic. I know they're going to hold, like they're not going to waver when I put a bunch of stuff on it. It's not going to like slowly droop over time when I'm posing or carrying it around with me. Golf clubs, man. Golf clubs. And you can get them super cheap at like thrift stores.
Yeah, yeah. I also add on that hockey sticks, especially if you're doing like a katana or any sort of like samurai weapon, because like when I did Inuyasha's Tessaiga, I needed a more like square shape because that's what the hilt looks like usually, and it was great for that. I just cut off the end where it bends and blunted it, and then stuck foam around it and made it a sword. So
nice.
All different kinds of weaponry handles you can find at thrift stores. Gosh, I'm trying to think of like unconventional one that I like come back to frequently. And
yeah, I think the one I come back to frequently is PVC pipe pieces.
Oh yeah,
it's
that's
like,
a good one.
Even if like, oh man, it's like I found this perfect shape, but it's like it's too long, I can go and cut it. Or like sometimes even like their cross sections could make a really neat detail on a costume. Yeah, I think PVC pipe has been my biggest one that I go back to.
It's a really good, like, handy for many purposes material. Gosh, it's so hard to think of just one because I feel like the projects vary so much.
That is
like
very true.
It's nice when you come across that one thing that you're like, oh, this is the perfect thing for XYZ. Yeah, I would say like probably the one I use most frequently is what I mentioned before, the like zip ties. just because it's so cheap and it's easy to use, and it means I can have a really close fit on most of my garments. And since I am more like sewing oriented, that's probably the thing I use the most. I mean, I won't discount saying that like a like real steel boned corset is really, really nice to have. But having something that can shape over that is really nice too. I like being able to do that. And foam. I always get the big foam mats at like the hardware stores.
One of my neighbors is moving out, and they have like one of those giant tubs of like dumpster stuff. And right on the top, they have those floor mats, but in like wood brown, so it looks like it could be wood tiling or whatever.
Oh, interesting.
And every now and again when I drive by it, I'm like, would it be weird if I just knocked on his door and was like, hey, is there anything wrong with can I have please?
I mean, you're not using them, so...
Yeah, you're just going to throw them away. I could use them for other things, I'm sure. I don't know how weird it is. I don't even know if it's still there or not. I didn't look on my way in today.
Oh, man. As a child who used to, like, literally dumpster dive, I would be like, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if they do this all over the US, but in Utah they definitely have like certain weekends of the year where you can just like leave stuff out that you want hauled to the dump.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, my whole neighborhood does that. And it is so hard for me not to stop and be like, oh, can I use that?
I'm such a gremlin, but like it's always fun to see. Like, this is my neighbor's stuff, huh?
Yeah. Okay, Chris and I will like be driving along. We'll be like, oh, this thing needs a home.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I like how it went for cosplay to like, I actually took this couch. And...
We've got a desk that we use as jewelry making and like just for like holding stuff in general. But like it's great for jewelry making stuff.
Oh, nice.
It was just sitting on the side of the road. We were like,
that's awesome.
Like, we drove by it, like, twice, and then Chris was like, okay, I gotta go look at it. And it just ended up being, like, perfect for when he does jewelry stuff, so I was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Super dope.
Yeah.
What is the weirdest thing you've ever used?
Weirdest? Oh, jeez.
Like, you pick that up, you're, like, going to the checkout, and you're, like, definitely lying about what you're using it for. See, since you said lying about it, I have to like admit to the giant knitting needles that I used to make a trident. Yes.
Because I definitely lied about that when they were asking me about it. They're like, "Oh, what's this for?" I just really like knitting. Definitely not making a trident out of this.
Well, that's oddly specific, but okay, ma'am. Your total is.
Yeah.
I don't think I have one that I've like immediately lied for. I'm also not a social person, so I don't strike up a conversation and like people like just don't ask me like, oh, what are you working on this weekend or anything along those lines.
Think about what you've purchased, and if somebody was to ask you, what would you say, and which one would you lie the most on?
I feel like I've definitely like had weird stuff on the little like checkout lane and just been like, I wonder what they're thinking about all this weird stuff I buy.
I know that I bought the Sono tube, which is like that cardboard tube that you pour cement into and then you rip the cardboard off. So if you needed like a cement foundation in a circular shape.
Yeah.
Had the Lowe's person asked me about that, I don't think I would have said, oh, I'm making a Harley Quinn hammer. For me, I'm going to do a Harley Quinn. I'm doing a gender bend Harley Quinn. Is that a problem? Yeah, I think that one I would have lied about. But Kaylin was there, and Kaylin's like not a big fan of even like white lies. So I would have been like, stuff, things, bye.
Bye. Oh man.
I think mine would be because it'd be back in like my earlier cosplay days where I would like this is totally for normal stuff. Where now I'm like, yeah, I'll tell you what I'm making, and you're gonna find it really weird, but also like most of the time people love it because cosplay is more mainstream now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, Panna, but do you remember the bird?
The bird?
The bird from Shadow of the Colossus that I...
Oh, yes, I do.
The big old puppet.
Uh-huh.
The PEX tubing that I got for the wings to make it look like it was flying and for the tail.
Mm-hmm.
That one, Chris actually was the one who was like, you should use this if you want the wings to be flexible and whatnot. He earned some major dating points when we were dating for this project because he helped me with it so much. But yeah, checking out with that, there was no way I was gonna say, yeah, I'm making a giant bird.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So yeah, if they'd asked me, I'd have been like, no, yeah, it's a plumbing thing. I don't.
I think one of them was I was looking for something for Raichu because the first time I cosplayed Raichu, I used copper pipe for the tail. Not super thick. It was maybe half an inch all the way. But the nice thing with the copper tubing was I could make the tail. It didn't quite hit the ground and it would bounce really nice without just laying flat. And that's what I wanted. And it was stupidly heavy, but it held that really cute curve where I wanted it to curve down and then come back up and still maintain that shape. And Raichu has a really skinny tail with the big old lightning bolt at the end. So it's hard to hold a big shape with something skinny. So, yeah, and I just remember looking for the tubing because I had used it before for something else. And the Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever I was shopping, people were just well, tell me what you need it for so I can make sure I'm getting you the right thing. And I'm like, no. I just need to look at it and I'll know if it's the right thing. Just show me where it is.
You're just show me. I promise you're not going to get this.
I know. They were trying so hard to be helpful, but the more questions they asked, the more confused they looked. So
I love non-traditional materials because, I don't know, they're just great.
Oh, and for jewelry, I have used so much for make fancying up things. When my grandma passed forever ago, my mom gave me all her old jewelry, and it's been really fun to incorporate it into pieces of my costume. And it I don't know, it gives me warm, fuzzy, cute memories to be able to incorporate something like that into something I love. So whenever I do a fancy when I did Fi from Tsubasa, I put one of her earrings into the design of the eye patch because it was a snowflake shape. Or when I did, oh gosh, I can't even remember, but I've used them in all kinds of different things since then, and it's just been really fun. So I love being able to use little baubles and things, and you can get a lot of stuff like that at thrift stores and not necessarily hardware stores, but dollar stores, even getting cheapy jewelry and winding it all together to make something really cool looking is really fun.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered everything I want to talk about on this.
I have a few recommendations to kind of broaden your mind.
Yeah.
So here's your homework: is go to YouTube and look up Rachel Maxey. She is a fantastic crafter / cosplayer / vintage dress wearer. She's got a great personality. She's really funny, but she has a really great eye for going to the thrift store, picking something up, and then tearing that down into something else. The episode that comes to my mind is what's the thing called where you put the gun in the pouch? The holster. Yeah, she made a tea holster to hold a teacup and a saucer.
Cute.
She's just so crafty, and she made that out of a leather purse that she got at a secondhand store.
That's so cool.
I would highly recommend her stuff. Also, I would recommend Studson Studio. I just finished watching a 52-minute long video of him making Howl's Moving Castle from garbage. Literally garbage.
Yes.
And he doesn't just I made this. He goes through like, this is from an old almonds can. This is from a takeout Tupperware. This is from a whistle. To see him do that and kit bash everything together. And kit bashing is when you have like model car kits or gunpla or something along those lines, and like you have the leftovers and you put pieces together that didn't originally belong and make something new out of it.
I learned a new word.
Oh, yay! I'm so glad I get to teach you that. Yeah, it's super fun to see like what people can do with that. One of my favorites is like when people kit bash like lightsabers together.
Ooh.
Yes. Oh, that was another one of my examples, actually, was that the Luke's lightsaber in the original trilogy was literally built off of the mount of a camera flash with different like odds and ends attached to it to make the hilt. It
Explains why
literally
it's so
cost them like
uncomfortable.
$12.
Nice.
Yeah. It literally cost them like $12 to make it.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, check out those two studios. If anything, reach out to Rachel just go check out Rachel Maxey because she's a great human being and deserves all the praise because she's so good at what she does.
Oh, good. It sounds really fun.
I must do this because I love seeing that stuff.
Yes. I love making the trash into the good things.
Yes. So yeah, cosplay can literally be the creation of the impossible with the very cheaply available.
That's my favorite.
Yes.
We got any good horror stories?
I'm excited for these.
Oh man, our Discord has been so active with horror
I know,
stories.
I was so excited. Did we hit 100? I think we are like super close to 100 members.
I think we have hit 100. I believe we have 100 members.
Holy crap!
Hey!
Yeah, we have 100 members, and the person who joined today is our 100th person, PB and James. Welcome,
Yay!
PB and James. Congratulations, you're 100th person. Yay! Okay, so let's go back a little bit. So, like I said, we've got a whole channel just dedicated to cosplay horror stories, and they're not just horror stories, but they're also fun stories and whatnot. All right, so this one comes from Glasses and Disasters, and they write, only a small horror story today from me, so my most recent build is Lydia Dietz from Beetlejuice, the musical, and along the bottom of her skirt, as part of the trim, I had inferred that there was a row of sequins that was on top of lace. Great, I thought, that will be no problem. I'll just go buy some of the sequin, string/ribbon stuff that I know exists. 2.5 meters of shirt will have sequins on it, no problem, right? Nope. There was only pink and white sequins string at my only local fabric store. I needed black sequins, and I had already placed my order from the online fabric store I like. So it was late. It was too late for that, and they didn't have it anyways. So what was my solution? I bought a packet of loose black sequins and some ribbon and hand sewed every individual sequin to cover the 2.5 meters long piece of ribbon that would be attached to the lace of the dress hem. This was the worst part about the dress, and I had already done so much hand sewing for all the lace application because I didn't trust my sewing machine with such delicate stuff as it has a tendency to jam.
Oh, man.
So long story short, sewing sequence isn't fun, but it ended up
not.
adding such a nice element to sparkle the hem of the dress. And they attached a fantastic, fun image of it, and it looks
so pretty.
So good.
So perfect.
I feel that pain with sequins, though, because like when we did our costumes for the Clara Cow Cosplay Cup, they were all hand-sewn sequins, and I think there were something like 12,000, and it was... I hated sequins, but at the end of... I still love sequins, I was lying, but... but I did not want to look at them for a while. But they look so cool, and like, when you can place them by hand, you get so much more control. Yeah. And that's really cool that like they stuck it out and got the result that they wanted, even if it was a little more work. A lot more work.
I'm still working on that wedding dress for my cousin.
Yeah.
As of this recording, it's due Saturday.
Oh
no. And it's got sequin details on it. Now, it's not like as many as you did, Pannon, but I know what goes into them because like I had to undo them to get them off of certain parts of the dress so I could bring it in.
Oh man.
But like having to put them onto the sleeve that I'm working on, I'm just like, what have I done to myself? But I'm going to get it done. It's going to look amazing. So
Brave souls, all of you. Brave souls.
Hey, David, you should add sequins to something and hand sew them on.
I will chop off my hands, but I don't. No, I won't do that. Maybe one day I'll be like, sequins seems like a good idea. And then I'll look back on this episode and go, curse you past me, chop off those hands.
You'll also join the sequin regret train.
Heck yeah. Regret, but it looks so good on stage. Like, sequins look like they just light up on stage. I love the effect.
Beautiful shine to them.
Anyway.
Yeah.
If you guys at home have a story you would like to share with us, or just like tell us about a project you did, or like how something turned out well, or a horror story, we like getting a good laugh at those, or having a cry.
Tell us some of the crazy things that you've built out of just something weird you found at the store.
Oh yeah, those are fun. You should totally share those in the Discord.
This has been such a fun episode to talk about all these weird things. Like,
yeah. But if you want to share those with us, there are many ways to do that. You can go via email, which is cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com, or
you can go to the website and fill out the Google form at cosplaystitchandseam.com, or
go to the Facebook page and join our fantastic group. And occasionally we'll even drop a link to our Discord, so you can join and share the stories there. We love to see you there. We love to talk with you guys. It's so great to just kind of like be inspired. At one point they were talking about the bonsai competition, and somebody even said, David, you should apply. And yes, thank you, X-Angel. I plan to apply. I'm terrified, but we'll see what happens.
Yay.
But that was really sweet, and I love the community that we have. We love you guys so much. Thanks for being the awesome people you are.
They said they were like talking about like a green room party, and I was like, yes, guys, green room meetup for Stitch and Seam. Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Please.
While you're on the internet, we would greatly appreciate helping us out, keeping the lights on and whatnot. Some of the best ways to do that is share the podcast with a friend. We greatly appreciate those. Leaving us a review kind of helps the algorithm gods and helps people notice our show across the world. And we just want to build up the community with people who want more cosplay, and such a great place to be with all these great people. And if you have a few bucks, we do have our Patreon, patreon.com/cosplay stitch. Like I said, $3 a month gives you a shout out on the show, and $5 a month lets you join our Cosplay Chronicles. Some of the amazing people we need to shout out is Dr. Steggy, James Donaldson, Cynics at Queer Eye Sci-Fi, How Cause, Hot Riku, Renamira, Jazzy Kofed, Jaguar Quinn, Gloria Shu, Sudi, Stacy Pitt, Shock H, and Silver Deeds!
Yay!
Thank you guys so much. It's just so overwhelming and awesome to have your support and to know that we can keep going with y'all behind us. It's so nice. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Mercedes, tell us about that project one more time.
Oh, yes. Let's showcase photographers and how much we love them. So send in your favorite photo of a cosplay that you have. Let us know who you are in the photo, as well as who the photographer is, so that we can give them a shout out in a fun YouTube video that I've got planned. And bonus points, if there are points, if you send in pictures of your photographer doing photographer yoga, or if you are a photographer, send us your favorite shots. And, we'll put them in this video. It's going to be awesome. Photographers just do so much, and you guys are amazing. And waxes fondly.
Yeah.
Get those in by September 30th. All right.
Yeah, and if you need some fun new makeup to wear for your photo shoot, you can check out foxbeautycosmetics.com. Use the promo code STITCHANDSEAM, all one word, to get 10% off your purchase of all vegan, not tested on animal products.
That was a slick transition.
It was beautiful. Hey. Absolutely
beautiful. 1 out of how many hundred now? Thanks as always to Macy Roberts for the use of her music as our theme song, and David Jeffress for his amazing editing. How are your podcasts going, David?
They are going so great. The last voice, our boy Gabe, has taken a break, and at this point in time, the latest episode is coming up. He's got some feels, but he's ready to get back at it, and he is dedicated to learning what caused the event. So make sure
Ooh.
you go over there, check out The Last Voice on whatever podcast catcher you use. And I also have a comic book podcast where we talk about the comic books that we love to share, but we talk about them in more of a complex form of like, what does this mean? What are we supposed to draw out of this? And how does this make me become a better person? So if you enjoy kind of the thoughtful review of comic books, go check out Comic Trades Monthly.
Hey, thanks so much. So I know we have drilled this into everybody, but I thought it's important to remember why you're in need of material. Find the right one, and it will solve all of your problems. Like a saw.
We usually you work up to it. This time you just punched us right in the gut with it.
I did. You know, it's just got to get them all in there. All right,
beautiful.
We'll see you guys
Bye.
later.
Bye.
Make some good puns for me.